Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call, particularly those of you calling in for the first time and those that will be listening to the replay over the next 24 to 48 hours. We have a standard format. We like to move quickly through these calls, bottom line the information for you. Ordinarily, we spend a few minutes talking about the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar, which we continue to believe is the base currency for the potential reset of some of these other currencies. A few minutes talking about the turnkey program we've put in place to assist you both pre- and post-RV, and then we go to a brief Q&A. Today's going to be a little different, and things are going to be different from now on. Today we're going to deal specifically with what's going on in Iraq, but we will be dispensing from discussing in detail the program we've put in place to assist you and going to a Q&A. That is for the very simple reason that we have been literally inundated with trust requests, and so on a week-to-week basis we're going to cease and desist from the routine and regular marketing of the trust because we need to devote our time, understandably, to assisting our existing clients and those that are applying for the trust package. But it is important we talk about what's going on in Iraq and the reinstitution of the dinar. So let's talk a little bit about the situation there. And there are a couple of additional things I want to talk about globally as well. There's a lot happening. First, by way of disclaimer, Trusts Unlimited is not the purveyor of the dinar and these other currencies. We're not advocating either the sale or purchase of these currencies, but as rather substantial currency holders ourselves, we're sharing with you the information we deem to be relevant. And obviously the most relevant piece of information would be information regarding the potential reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. As I've stated in the past, there was a possibility of a reinstatement in March, but we were looking to April. It's looking more and more as though that's going to be the case. Now, there have been some things going on in Iraq of note. Finally, after years of squabbling, it seems that Erbil and Baghdad have come to terms on this budget draft. It suggests several things. First, it suggests that issues with regard to the oil and gas law have, at least for the time being, been resolved. And as I had suspected, it looks as though the arrearage in dues that Erbil owes Baghdad, they will be able to facilitate due to the fact that they will receive their proportionate share of the revenues from the sale of petroleum, and that the nearly doubling of the price of a barrel of oil in the last 70 days is making the payment of their dues a lot easier. It also suggests that we're going to get final implementation of Article 140 of the Constitution, which is the de-Arabization of the Kurdistani region. They're also having final negotiations in the Parliament with regard to the federal Supreme Court law. And this is important because this will ensure an independent and apolitical court, which is necessary in order to finally solve the corruption problem in the country, which for the last 20 years has been rampant. Now, globally, and this does affect Iraq, it affects all countries, but particularly Iraq, we're looking at finally achieving the implementation of Basel III compliance and implementation of the new quantum financial system, which is part of the quantum computer system. This is very important because it means that we're finally going to have a universal and global method of valuing currencies because they will be commodity-backed, meaning that countries like China and other countries cannot artificially devalue their currency in order to corner the trade market. We're going to have a fair playing field from now on. Now, I wanted to bring up a couple of issues. First, And again, one of the reasons we're not going to be marketing the trust product today and on a week-to-week basis make that determination. As an example, I was on the phone yesterday until 9 p.m. my time, resolved every call that I'd received, every contact that I'd received. I woke up this morning, I had 50 contacts between phone messages, texts, and emails. And so it's a moral imperative that we obviously serve the existing clients we have and process new applications as quickly as possible. We can't do that if we continue to market the product, especially since we could conceivably be looking at the reinstitution of the dinar very, very shortly. But I want to touch on a couple of issues and why we're finally in a position that we've been waiting for so long. For many of us, it's been over a decade. But let's just talk about the investment of the Iraqi dinar itself. In my view, those of us that have invested in the dinar are not just investing in a sovereign currency per se, but we're actually investing in the country itself. And what is the situation with Iraq? It can be argued that per square mile, Iraq may be the richest country in the world. Why? It has the second largest known oil reserves in the world. In addition, Iraqi crude is the sweetest crude in the world. What does that mean? It means it has the lowest sulfur content. Why is that important? It means that it can be refined much more quickly and much more cheaply. Why is that important? It's important because only about a third of refined petroleum is used in the combustion engine. Fully two-thirds of it is used for the production of glass, plastics, rubber, textiles, pharmaceuticals, electronics, and nanotechnologies. Modern society cannot exist without petroleum. There's not enough wind and solar in the entire universe to produce one smartphone or one laptop. So this makes Iraq in and of itself an extremely rich country. But there's more to the story. Because Iraq is situated in the Tigris-Euphrates Delta, for thousands of years all of the silt has flown down into that area. That means Iraq is extremely rich in precious and industrial metals and minerals. It also means that it can be mined very simply because it's on flat, sandy ground, not in a mountainous region like Iran. But we just recently learned something else about Iraq. Iraq now has the second largest known sulfur reserves in the world. Why is that important? Because sulfur is important in water filtration. We have a water shortage problem. But the sulfur can be used in desalination plants to purify ocean water, and it can be used to clean and filter tainted water, freshwater sources in third world countries. So ironically, Iraq that produces petroleum with the lowest sulfur content also has the second largest known sulfur reserves. The country is literally a gold mine. Why is that important for us? We hold dinar. We're looking at Basel III compliance and the new quantum financial system, meaning that currencies are going to be backed by gold and other commodities. Basel III compliance, for example, defines the value of a currency in the future as the known natural resources in that country and the ability to bring those resources to market within 5 years. So for all of these reasons, in my opinion, the Iraqi dinar is a very good investment. Now let's take, for example, an individual that has 10 million dinar. They paid about $10,000 for that 10 million dinar. They could turn around and sell those dinar tomorrow for 75 cents on a dollar, meaning that if you have 10 million dinar for which you paid $10,000, you've actually only got at risk $2,500. Now, if the dinar revalues for 10 cents, your $2,500 100 hard dollar investment would be worth $1 million. If it revalues at $1, and $1 is exactly what the IMF and the CBI have agreed the reinstituted rate should be, you then have $10 million. But if the dinar were to come back at its original rate of approximately $3.50 when Saddam Hussein was running the country in the ground, you're looking at $35 million. Now, is that a reasonable assumption? Well, yes, it could be when you consider that the surrounding countries of Iraq all have dinar that are worth approximately $3. And those countries combined do not have the natural resources of Iraq. Then there is the geopolitical situation in Iraq. Iraq happens to be situated very advantageously. They happen to be between the two mortal enemies in the Middle East, Iran and the Sunnis, and the Shia, and Saudi Arabia, the Sunnis. So it's very sacred ground. It's also the gateway between the East and the West. Well, why is that important? Because both the East and the West have vested interests in Iraq, because China is trying to establish a very aggressive Silk Road initiative to reestablish the old trade route between the East and the West. And once again, where's the gateway to all of this? Iraq. Lastly, since 2003, the international community has spent over $4 trillion to resurrect the nation-state of Iraq, and they want their money back. So when you consider all of this, Basel III compliance, the new quantum financial system, the transition from fiat-based to commodity-backed currencies, there's no way this can proceed without the substantial revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. Now, I have no crystal ball. I can't tell you exactly when this is going to happen or exactly how it's going to happen. So the only thing we can do to predict the future is look at the facts as they exist now and try to make the best estimated guess. Everything seems to me to point to the direction of a reinstitution of the dinar in April. Now, if we can get a reinstitution by May 15th, that means that we would have approximately 60 days before any potential taxes would be due on the gain. So we would have time to allow the currency to appreciate further if it should come out at an initial float. It'll also give us time to compel the IRS to tell us exactly what the tax implications are of this revaluated gain in and outside of the trust. So again, I think we're in a very, very good position. And again, we're only going to be marketing our trust on a week-to-week basis based on the flow of new business and service requests that are coming in. We want to make sure that we service all of our existing clients. We have to make that a priority. Now, for those of you that are calling in for the first time, I would strongly suggest that you go to YouTube or IQD calls and go to the Trusts Unlimited Wednesday call of March 3rd. If you do that, you'll get a little information about where we were at that time in Iraq, and you will see that we were right on point. But you'll also get a detailed explanation of the program we've put in place to assist you both pre- and post-RV. At that point, you may wish to contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. I'm going to give you our contact information. You can go to our website, which is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc.com. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimitedllc@gmail.com. Our phone service is 307-274-4122. If you'd like to listen to a recent conference call playback, or if you'd be kind enough to refer us to someone that might be interested in our services, again, you can go to YouTube or IQD calls to listen to those replays, or you can simply dial the same number that you dialed for this live call this afternoon, with the exception of the last number. Rather than dialing a 4, you'll dial a 3, and then use the same access code, which is 739394#. If you'd like to be included on our email list, you can go to our website, go to the bottom, enter your name and email address where indicated. You should be in our email list within 24 hours. Bear in mind that emails only go out very periodically, pre-RI/RV, but once the reinstitution of the Dinar occurs, emails may go out as often as weekly. So again, thanks very much for listening to the call. We will be marketing our trust only on a week-to-week basis from now on, but we will be on each week to talk about the situation as we approach the reinstitution. Once the reinstitution does occur, our Wednesday calls will deal with the management and funding of our trust packages and reviewing the trust package itself, a Q&A with our attorneys, and hopefully we'll have some other guests, some task specialists and investment advisors to talk a little bit in general about paying of taxes, management of the funds, investments, and things of that nature. So thanks so much for listening to the call. We'll be back next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we will be back in whatever capacity next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a great week, and thanks for listening.